Good evening and welcome to episode number 26 of The Black Feather, an Ospreys rugby fan cast. And I can now officially say this week, lads, after my stint on Radio Wales yesterday, as mentioned on BBC Radio Wales, breakfast time.
Fantastic.
Finally, it's about time you got it in.
Do you know what, right? They said to me, we're going to introduce you as Samantha Jane, co-host of The Black Feather, Ospreys fan cast, and they kind of got the name wrong a little bit. And I was like, no, this is the name. And then I was on with a guy who's got like a YouTube channel with like 140,000 subscribers. So if I've done us any favours at all, I'll be really, really, really happy.
Awesome. Big time now.
Look, I'm just one step of being an influencer and having deals now, and I don't know what I'll get deals for, but I'm almost there. Now, you may have noticed we've got someone joining us tonight, and Dav is one of our listeners and has asked if he can come on and have a chat with us. We don't bite. Well, I don't. Well, yeah, no, those two don't bite. I may bite.
You said the words last week, Sam, that the warning
Caution
label that
may
should be
bite.
stuck on you is caution may bite. So
yeah, I may bite. They won't. They won't. And if we go back to the very beginning when we did the werewolf vampire thing, I said I'd be a vampire, so I definitely will bite. But Dav, tell us about yourself. Where are you from? How long have you been an Ospreys fan?
So I'm David, and I come from a village called just outside Newcastle, where Gareth and Steph Thomas come from. I've been an Ospreys supporter since probably 2006, 2007, around that time. And a lot of people have said why I'm an Ospreys supporter, not Scarlets, because of where I come from. And the basic answer is, when I was growing up, everything was black for me. So when watching rugby, like Wales play New Zealand was always winning. So it was always black. And I'd like a black. There was always black toys, black, everything black. So I think it was, I wouldn't say Scarlets was playing Ospreys at Stradi, and I went with my mum and dad and sister. And it was, I think we won, but I wasn't quite sure who to support. I decided whoever wins, I'm going to support, and I haven't looked back since.
Happy days. So out of the current squad that we've got, who's your favourite player at the moment?
I don't really have a favourite player, but I think because Gareth and Steph Thomas are comes from the same village as me or town, I quite like to keep them going. Like, I don't want Gareth, like on the weekend, Gareth was coming off the bench. I don't want him to get injured because I still want him to keep on playing for the Ospreys. But
Great.
Out of those two, if I had to say who I'd like, I would say was probably Jack Morgan.
Without a doubt, he's everybody's favourite, isn't he?
He is at the moment, isn't he?
I just love him.
There's no words to describe how good he is. He's just that.
Yeah.
We
all like our local heroes as well, though, don't we? So it's nice to give a shout for you to give a shout out there to your local boys. Were they two that you saw about growing up that you're familiar with? Do you know the families, or I know what it's like in Welsh rugby. It can be quite incestuous, can't it?
Yeah, I know the family, but they're not that close. My mum and my mum's side knows more about their family. But when Steph Thomas was in the Scarlets sort of academy, when he was living on his own, he used to live by my grandparents. So sometimes I went over there and I saw Steph Thomas. I didn't really know him that much. So I know more about Gareth and Steph.
Yeah, it is a little tinderpot Wills, isn't it? Everybody knows everybody else. But I think we need to talk about Saturday.
I think just before we move on, I think we got to talk about Dav's background there as well. I think he needs to lean back and Show us
You
the
know, if we can
score.
get results like that in a couple of weeks'
Yeah.
time or back to
Yeah.
back, I'll be a happy Sam.
Yeah.
You might be
Maybe
able to
touch on
remove the
that
warning
day
label.
briefly, Dav. What did that day mean to you?
It was that day was really special because I don't know if you guys remember, but I think that was Dan Edwards' debut as well
Yeah.
when he came off the bench and scored that try. But that was a fantastic game because what I can remember is that we just kept it in the forwards, and I don't think Scars every time they had a penalty, they just wanted to go for goals, so they weren't really in the game. And we were going through the maul, the scrum. It was a very good day, and as well, I watched it with my parents, my sister, and they're all Scarlets fans. But to be fair to them, that they do come to more Ospreys games than Scarlets games recently.
Need to try and convert them, bring them to that church. Bring them to that church. So let's talk Saturday. Now, I'm a kiss of death. I prefer to stay at home. I don't have to queue for the toilet. Don't have to pay ridiculous amounts of money for lime and soda. I don't have to surround myself with people. Like, oh, yeah. So I'm a kiss of death. Lads, I was open on Saturday. I believed. And then it went very Pete Tong.
Very, very quickly as well.
Like, I thought we couldn't get any worse after France. I thought we've hit stone rock bottom. No, we took a jackhammer to that on Saturday.
Yeah.
And I've dredged to get some positives for me. So positives are like the light show and the fireworks beforehand. I like the chasing dragons on the screen. Thought the band was great. The goat looked stunning as always.
God, you're grasping. You're really grasping.
I'm grasping, right? I am. I'm trying, right? I'm really trying.
The goat looked good.
Shanking was the best thing on the pitch.
I'd love a goat. Seriously, I would love a goat. But two nice tries by Ben Thomas, we've got to be fair. And as Blair Murray, love him. He was trying everything from everywhere. Very fine margins on things. The rub of the green was not with us on Saturday. There were certain things where if that margin had just been slightly finer, it could have come off. But we all know the difference between a winning and a losing side is whether they've got the rub of that green with them.
But you make that kind of luck, don't you?
You do.
You generate the rub of the green. You get on the good side of the ref, and I just think in absolutely every facet of that performance, we were second best.
We'd even second best.
yeah. That's what I was about to say. I don't think we'd even merit getting what you would traditionally call a second best. We were just not even playing at the same game. We're not being measured on the same scale in any facet of that game. So the rub of the green was never going to go our way, was it?
No.
I think it was the first time since Pretoria 98, the 96-13 against South Africa, where I just watched the game and just felt helpless watching it. It just felt like every time anything was going to happen, it was going to be against us, either a try against us fluffing a chance or whatever it was. And it just, I don't know, I really felt like crying at the end of the game, and I hadn't been drinking at all. And
if I hadn't been in public, I'd have cried.
I just felt really emotional as to how bad we were, because it's the first time in, 27 years, I remember us playing quite that badly and just looking so outclassed on every single aspect of the play.
I had English pants to the left of me, and don't mind them cheering, don't mind them clapping, that's fine. When they started laughing at us, I took umbrage to that. You're taking the mickey now. And I'd go something that John calls my Darth Vader death stare. which if a stare could like reach out a hand and throat choke you, that's my stare, right? And I've also got an early warning signal of my left eyebrow. The Rock's got nothing on me. If I'm getting annoyed, my left eyebrow just climbs further up my head. It's why I've only got lines on this side, right? And it's why I'm not allowed Botox, because it's an early warning signal if I'm going to lose my absolute bonnet. And I just looked over them and I was like, I'm really pleased for you for winning, but this is not funny in the slightest for Welsh rugby. It's genuinely not. And you could see people were looking at him as if to say, whatever you like, just don't laugh. It was just,
I think what's
yeah,
made it worse as well is the sympathy the English media have given us since Saturday. It feels worse than anybody laughing at us. They're
patronising.
being sympathetic as to how bad we are, and that just feels worse.
I know, because they're the old enemy.
Yeah.
Like it is the stereophonics, as long as we beat the English, it genuinely is. I told you got on my nerves as well, like constantly on at the ref. Go away. We could have done with an Andrew Gardner, like he did to Caelan Doris, when they were playing. Just go away, get out my face. I don't want to speak to you. And we didn't control the ref in the same way. Dav, where did you watch on Saturday afternoon?
So I watched it in my local pub, and the first for the first half we looked just like we were just couldn't play anything, and in the first 10 minutes the game was done in my opinion, because we were never okay. Yeah, we scored the try 47, but then the last 10 minutes we conceded. I think it was 2 or 3 tries before half time, and in the second half, myself and a few other people was watching the game, but we weren't watching it because we were just talking about what we're doing so badly. And what made it worse was like Jack Morgan had an okay game, but you couldn't hear the commentator saying, "Oh, there's another good tackle by Jack or another good turnover." Like Jack Morgan had a quiet game.
I can't blame him for that, though. He's played every single minute of the last 4 games.
It's like if Jack Morgan has a bad game, Wales will have an even worse result. So it's like for Wales to win, Jack Morgan has to literally do everything, even kick conversions or penalties.
Oh, Anscombe was shocking, though. He didn't have a good day at the office, did he?
No.
To me, I don't know why he's still picking Anscombe.
No.
Because he's not going to play in the World Cup.
Yeah. And I think, we can go through the ins and outs of the games. I don't want to, if I'm being honest. The other thing that really frustrated me was the post-match press interview. Where were the WRU? Where was Abby Tierney?
Yeah.
You've let Jack and Matt Sherratt go out there and speak to the press when they probably want to go home, get under a weighted blanket and cry, and you've not literally come out and said anything. No. I'm not aware of seeing anything in the media since then. And I think Warburton said it, and I agree with him. You need to come out and you need to say something to the fans now, because you're expecting these fans to buy in, pay 125, 130 quid for a ticket for that. Now, you're always going to get your plastic fans, and no disrespect to them, they keep the money coming into the Welsh Rugby Union coffers. But for the likes of you and I'm not going to pay and go and see that. I'm not. I can see better. If I go and pay for 3 Home Nations games, which will be next year, by the time I pay for me and John to go to 4 to 3 games, I'm spending the best part of £1,000. That's for my season tickets for the Ospreys. I'm just not going to pay it.
I mean, Sherratt was in an impossible position at the end of the day, wasn't he? I mean, he did well to get it. I mean, he did well to get a team out of us against Ireland and second half against Scotland. But, as you say, to put him out in front of the media after an absolute battering on Saturday, okay, he was
to the Wolves.
But he was the coach of having had half a dozen coaching sessions or whatever it is with the team across 3 weeks. He wasn't going to make a difference in that amount of time. He wasn't going to turn around Welsh rugby in 3 games.
No.
And to be fair, he's carried himself well throughout this process. He spoke well after the game on Saturday, and he talked about, that there's far more work to do from grassroots up, as we all know. And the Saturday's performance wasn't just a result of the players on the pitch, but down to just the quagmire, which is Welsh rugby at the minute.
It's everything, and you can say you can go out on the pitch and forget and play, but there must be something niggling in the back of your mind about what's going on off the pitch that is frustrating and causing an issue with gameplay. We ended at the bottom of the table, surprise, surprise, second year in a row. Cockerell's now piping up for Georgia. He's done an article today to say we deserve to be there more than Wales do. A, behave yourself. B, behave yourself. C, behave yourself. Don't get me wrong, Georgia are doing amazing, and I do not see any harm in us having a lower tier version of other countries such as Spain, Portugal, Georgia, having that below the Six Nations. But for 2 runs of seasons, I do not think that warrants, Wales being removed.
No, I don't
Georgia
think
being put down.
specific targeted, attacks towards Wales are
It's
unwarranted.
It's
But I
Six
think there is
Nations.
still strong justification for promotion relegation in the Six Nations. It's just unfortunate that we're at the bottom now. But I can't change my tune. I've generally supported that notion in the past, and I will do going forward. But it wouldn't be, a straight relegation if you get
Relegation.
the wooden spoon. It would be playoffs. It would be, yeah, some sort of system to prove that worth. So I think there's still argument for that there. But I do enjoy Richard Cockerell piping up every time on
Oh,
Georgia. But he did
you know,
basically say we are not good enough, didn't he?
yeah, yeah.
Didn't mince his words.
Can you imagine the
And we're
state
not.
in there? Imagine we did lose a playoff and dropped into that second tier,
Right.
and then had
Don't now.
crowds of
Talk that
30,000
into
against
fruition.
Spain and Belgium or wherever it is. It'd be just absolutely disastrous.
I wouldn't mind a jolly to Portugal again. Last time I was there, it was lockdown and we got kicked out.
We'd win some games at least, though.
You reckon?
You'd imagine, you'd hope.
Portugal!
But no, back to the game. My experience of it, the off-field stuff, the experience, the fan experience side of things. I'm never going to Cardiff with a group of solely English mates again to watch Wales v England. I mean, I love them all, and I had a great time in general. I ended up in Chip Alley with my burrito in my hand at midnight. But watching the Welsh game with them was just miserable. They would proper giving it to me. They did not let up, and even to the point where at one point I had my head in my hands like this, and all of them were in my face, like doing that proper mocking laugh, just trying to wind me up.
Should have
And
headbutted one of them.
I,
They wouldn't
I
have done it
snapped
again.
for a moment, and one of them got an open palm to the face. I was so apologetic. I
Why?
genuinely, and he's the nicest boy as well. Jack Cornish, I'm sorry, mate. I feel
Jack,
like
me and you got issues now, mate.
I
I'll have
genuinely
beef for
look of
you,
shock
Jack
on his face.
Cornish.
Everyone looked at me like, "Oh shit, Rod's lost his head."
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought that of you. Like me, yes. But not you.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
it's all right.
Rodney, aren't you from my steak?
Not from my steak. I live in my steak now. Maybe it's percolated too much into my psyche. I am a Swansea boy originally,
Exactly.
a Slavera.
Well, people hang up on my steak. They can act like that way. So
I've learned from the best. I've been here 16, 17 years now, and I've played for two rugby teams in the Valley. So no, I know how to look after myself, but I don't usually lose my head. I'm usually the wind-up merchant. I don't like being on the other side of that coin there.
Do you know what? I wouldn't have thought that of you, but it's always hilarious because I got the curls and I'm short and I've got the big blue eyes. Everybody always looks at me as if to say, "No." The reality is, I grew up with a brother who's 10 years older than me, who kicked 7 bells of shit out of me, fed slugs to me. I'm not gonna be that person who's like, "Oh, behave." I'm gonna be like, bang. Jackie's really, really sorry. but I'd personally gone with closed fist. So, you did okay.
It's lucky that that's just how it fell. It could have been a close
It's just how
fist.
it happened, okay?
Yeah.
Where there's a blame, that's a claim.
But that
Um,
goes to the root of the problem, really. Like it was embarrassing, wasn't it? It was
it was
really
awful,
embarrassing. And as
absolutely
Welsh people,
awful.
we will have all felt that to our core. We're a proud rugby nation, and that there was nothing to be proud of in that. Very little anyway. Yeah.
I
I
mean,
don't
England played
remember lots
well.
of the details, to
I
be
mean, England
honest.
played well, to be fair, didn't they? But we allowed them to play well to an
They
extent as
overpowered
well.
us. They overpowered us.
Yeah.
And is it that kid Pollock who came on? Scottish parents?
Yeah,
John was horrified.
he's another cocky one, isn't he?
John was horrified. He was like, firstly, your kids decided to play for England. Secondly, you've gone to the game, you're Scottish and you're waving an England scarf. John, no, absolutely no. When we were trying for kids, that was a major source of contention in our house. And I was like, at the time, I was cocky because like Wales were way better than Scotland. And I was like, look, they're going to play for Wales. And I was like, but if they're not good enough, then they can go and play in Scotland. But it is that mortified John. But I really don't know what else to say about that other than we finished the bottom of the table. However, interesting stats came out that the URC published, and Jack was top of the tree for tackles, and I think Blair Murray was top of the tree for line breaks. So
Yeah.
there are positives there. There are positives there. However, let's talk Friday night. 8,500 crowd in Cardiff, at the Cardiff Arms Park to watch Wales England under 20s. And they only went and did it, and they did it well. They ruffled those England feathers. That England team has lost nothing before then. Defensively, absolutely superb. And that try by guy with double-barreled name, HRW. Wow, what a try. I wasn't feeling well on Friday. So I finished work kind of bath, went to bed early, but I watched it on Saturday morning because everyone was like, you need to watch this. Absolutely amazing. They really got under their skin. Kieran Bracken's son wasn't happy when he was sent off. He said, for fuck's sake, which I could quite really read. But did you lads have the chance to see that on Friday night?
I did, yeah. Outstanding. We forced them into mistakes. I mean, England made a lot of errors. They had a lot of ball, made a lot of errors. But England's discipline went as the game went on, didn't it? As we put more pressure on them, their discipline just went. And you can see them almost visibly losing their heads
I don't think the ref
more
helped.
sort of frustrated they got.
Oh God, no! The ref was so poor.
The ref was awful.
He was.
Rhod, if you haven't watched it, right, just watch the second half purely for the ref. It was bad
I will watch it.
To the point where two fights broke out towards the end, but got really, really aggy. And I think the frustration was with the ref and the calls that he was making. But that second half performance, they just wanted it more. Defensively superb. They did not stop trying. And that, as I say, that try in at the start of the second half was one of the best tries I've seen, whether it be under 20s or seniors. His body positioning was outstanding. And they finished fourth in the table.
Yeah, fourth.
Which is the highest they've finished for a long time.
Looking across the season, that ill-disciplined performance against Scotland aside, they were blown away second half against France, having pushed them really hard first half and had France frightened a little bit, I think, in that first half. And they've won their other three matches. So as a whole campaign, definite improvements, huge improvements. We haven't beaten England since 2020, I think they said. This was the last time we beat them. They would go for a Grand Slam Friday night. So there are shoots of hope coming from the under-20s, hopefully.
Got the glimmers coming through, we really have.
And how did Dan German perform? Did he look good, as good as he has in previous weeks?
He
Yeah,
put
I think
himself
so.
about. Yeah. Sorry, Dav, go on.
Yeah, I think the parts I didn't see all the game, but I saw majority of it. Parts I saw, he got involved and he got stuck into them. So for a young player to do that in against England in the 20s, it bets good for us, especially for the Ospreys for the future.
Yeah.
He
So
did have a good
obviously,
game.
when you get back rowers who make that transition up into senior teams, you can often see their position change. Where do you think you'd be more suited in the Osprey senior setup? Because he has been
I
playing
would,
second row a lot,
yeah,
row, isn't he?
Mm.
But he could definitely be a back rower.
Yeah, I
I
think
think,
six probably.
yeah,
Six, yeah.
either going to play in second row or six.
Because what's
I'd
the
go for
height on
six.
him? He's probably not tall enough,
Not
is he?
massive, is he? I don't think. No.
No,
I think he's about 6'2", isn't he? Which is, it's tall, but
but taller than
you
me.
ideally want somebody a bit lankier, lengthier, with longer arms in that second row to catch those high balls off line out
Yeah,
or be disruptive in a maul. And he doesn't seem like that kind of player. He seems more like a heavy hitter, big ball
I think
carrier
he's
type
definitely a
player.
six for me. I agree with Mark.
Yeah.
he has done his debut this year. I think was it against Ulster? I think away.
Was
I think,
it?
Yes,
yeah,
when we were scraping the barrel because of injuries.
Yeah, and we had
Okay.
20 odd players out or whatever it was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm
yeah.
not quite sure what position because he was on the bench, but not quite sure what.
I don't know if he came on.
Yeah, not quite sure.
Hmm.
So
One
yeah,
thing I found
glimmers of hope.
One thing I found really interesting, one of the journalists down on pitch side commented on the tackle positions of both teams, and he was saying how low the under 20s across the board are tackling compared to the senior men's teams. And he said probably they're the first ones to come through solely under the new tackle rules.
Mm,
And it was noticeable apparently at pitch level how low they're getting into tackles,
yeah,
which is quite interesting. Doesn't really.
That's not just younger knees, is it?
It could be, yeah.
possibly.
But I
Quite,
suppose they're
quite
being coached.
possibly.
I mean, I guess they're being coached that way, aren't they? To tackle low, and seems to be coming
They've
through.
not had to change their mindset really, have they?
No, I suppose not. Yeah, but I thought it was quite
But
interesting.
good shoots coming through. So when people are saying about players, we have got a pool of players there. It might not be as big as your likes of Ireland and England or Scotland, but we have got the players coming through. So really, where do we go from here? Because there's been a lot of noise since Saturday. Sam Warburton has said we need to cut a region, and if we're looking at regions at the moment, it would be the Dragons. Now, his argument to that is we've had 20 years of regions and it's not worked. You can counter argue that and say, well, we've never had three regions, so how do we know three regions would work? Someone else has come out today and said perhaps we need to think of the Dragons as a feeder region. They have less money, they have a lesser budget, with a bigger share of the pot being split between Scarlets, Ospreys, and Blues. But the time is now. The PRA was supposed to be sorted last June, July. It's still not being done. We still don't really know what is there other than what's reported in Wales Online. So where we go from here is we shove a rocket wherever it needs to go. We stop doing these reviews. We're wasting money. We're wasting time. Get the feelers out for a director of rugby. Get him in place. Get a coach in place. Sort out the PRA.
Yeah.
Go to the Winchester, have a pint, wait for it all to blow over. Simple as um,
Yeah.
And I just think some of the names that are being bandied about for director of rugby, no.
Yeah.
We do not need Scott coming back in. We do not need Kingsley, whatever. Look forward, don't look back, is my opinion. Pat Lam, someone I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, has possibly emerged as a front runner for Welsh coach, but I don't know whether Rhod's going to discuss that in news later. But for me, that's where we need to go now. We need to rebuild. we're not going to win anything for the next 3, 4, 5 years. We got to settle in as Welsh rugby fans now to take
No,
it on the chin.
Yeah.
we can get into that head coach chat here really because it's pertinent to the where do we go next sort of chat. But yeah, that list of DOR potentials was pretty woeful. But essentially, in terms of what that role will entail and what they'd need to do, I'd really want somebody to come in with a plan for the next 12 months, not to come in and just say, okay, we're going to have a
We're
review.
gonna, yeah,
In 2 years' time, we end up in the same position because all we've done is just review things, to the hilt. So we want somebody coming in and saying, okay, these are the long-term actions, but over the next 6 to 12 months, this is what we need to change now. Obviously, a big part of that will be get their role in appointing that head coach. Pat Lam seems like a decent option. He's had success. He's obviously not as familiar with the Welsh landscape like some of the other options are. But he could be an exciting prospect for us. And then obviously we've got the Japan tour in the summer, and that's something. It's an opportunity really to bring through some of the younger boys now who weren't represented in this Six Nations, wasn't it? I mean, I'd love to see Dan Edwards play a pivotal role in that two-game tour of Japan, as well as Ruben Morgan-Williams, Morse, Fender, potentially Harry Deeves. Ross Moriarty's coming back. We'll talk about that later in the news section, but will he go straight back into the Welsh setup? I think we could see quite a different team over the next 12 months, but we need the framework in the DOR, in the head coach, in the wider WRU systems that are going to really, give the best opportunity to that change in team going forward. Because I think you're right, based on performances in this Six Nation, there's going to be some people there that we won't see again.
no.
Uh, Christ, can't remember his name now. Will Rowland,
Will
second row.
Rowlands.
Gareth
Anscombe as well.
Anscombe, we may not see Anscombe in a Welsh jersey ever again, and
Please God,
I'm
let's hope
sad
so.
about it.
Yeah.
So there's lots of
He's
facets
leaving
of
Gloucester
this.
as well, isn't he? That's the rumour. He's
He
leaving
is
That was
Gloucester.
it.
They're
Yeah,
going. I think I heard yesterday. When he left us, he wanted to go to. He was offered to go to Japan, and then he got his injury, so he might go to Japan. So
Sayonara.
Yeah. I mean, as far as that DOR list, I mean, hopefully it's just a list that they've released to the press and they've got a rabbit in the hat waiting to pull out of an actual name of a person they're going to appoint, because I don't think there's anybody on that list that would fill any of us with confidence in terms of DOR, in terms of that DOR position. It's so retrospective some of the names that we're looking at. We need somebody coming in with fresh
Yeah.
ideas, a new face, preferably somebody who's reasonably recently close to Welsh rugby. There's plenty of recently retired players who've got that business acumen as well as the rugby side of it, who could be looked at potentially. So I'm really hoping there's another name that they're keeping hidden from the press
And
currently.
it needs to be someone who can build a bridge between like the regions, the clubs,
Yeah.
and this one Wales team that they're aiming for.
So as
Um,
far as the regions go, I mean, Teeny said back in the autumn that it will be 4 regions going forward. That's what's been agreed currently. So I think, the talk of 3 regions is pie in the sky. I think if that's what they've agreed to stick with the 4, then it's trying to find a way to make the 4 work. And I think Gareth Day was it Gareth Day who's been interviewed on the Scrum 5
yeah,
podcast the other day, and he was
podcast,
saying
yeah.
pre-COVID, their plan was to have different payments to different regions depending on how sort of competitive they were.
yeah.
Which
That's where I
would
think I got the Dragons as a feeder region from.
Yeah, which would make more sense. The Dragons could then, as you say, be funded slightly less than the others. I mean, the worry would be that they'd pump all the money into Cardiff as being the strongest squad potentially, and the Scarlets and us would be left with the scraps. I think that's the only thing that would sort of concern me with that, possibly.
And
But
I
it
think
Yeah,
that's why
makes
for
sense.
the DOR role, I would kind of want somebody who's ingrained in Welsh rugby, as in knows the landscape, but not necessarily having come from the Welsh rugby
doesn't have an
landscape
affiliation
themselves,
with a
doesn't have
region.
that affiliation because whether there's biases or not, you're always going to have that sort of
You're going to
accusation,
have
or
a
there'll be a
favourite.
perception, and people are going to be less willing to buy into any changes that are made. So I think that's why I initially liked Simon Easterby, with an understanding of the Welsh rugby landscape, but not being particularly affiliated with any particular region. Pat
And he's
Lam
been
has
in a
that sort of
different,
benefit,
good,
doesn't he?
yeah.
Because he, due to just geographical proximity and the nature of how closely some of those westerly English Prem clubs work with some of the colleges over in England, and they often have a lot of Welsh representation within their senior squads, don't they? So I think he's
We
familiar.
lose so many players to Hartpury
Hartbury.
College,
Yeah.
and Bristol, and because of their close proximity to Wales.
So do we need something like that in Wales? Is that some of the one of the bold
We
decisions
used to have
that
that though.
I mean,
should
With
Millfield,
they be
Llanddyfri.
investing in a facility
Llandudno,
in a
Millfield,
college?
yeah, they're there, aren't they? But they just don't seem to be as
Yeah.
strong as they used to be then.
And
Yeah,
that's
because we
where like
still have the youngest and best athletes go into rugby in Wales, but that could change. We need to make the most of that before football becomes the more popular choice with youngsters. I feel passionately that we need to invest in some sort of institution that can capture those players, keep them in Wales, and steer them towards a career in Welsh club and hopefully international rugby.
I
this is
think
what I like about our tie-in with Rhod though and Swansea University with the Ospreys, because I can see that being quite successful and working, because he has got you know amazing pedigree in bringing younger players through that system. He did it for Ireland. His son is what, a physio with the Irish set. The Irish setup is, I think his wife is Irish as well, isn't it? So I like the tie-in that we've got with Swansea Uni. I don't know if the other regions have got, similar really, but we did have that school system. Like, if you were a good and talented player, then you get given a scholarship to Llandudno. I can't remember the name of the other school. It was that kind of near Newport Way on the borders. But again, that was a private school and you get given scholarships.
I think the first competition that universities play is a very good standard of rugby, because so the Ospreys, I think Max Nagy, who's Sutton, came through, and I think there's good players in there, but they're just not, when they get released to a region, some players aren't like managed properly. So I think with the director of rugby, I think, in my opinion, I'd like somebody that's not been within Welsh rugby but knows some of it. So knows, look, I know, like Rhod said, like maybe not someone who's got affiliated with the region, but I think one person that could do it, even though he's had tied with the Ospreys, could be Sean Hawley, because yes, he's been an Ospreys coach, but he's coached in the English Premiership, Bristol as well. So, and he does do a lot on Scrum Five with all the other regions. So I don't know if that could be a possibility, but whoever comes in has got a very hard job, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But you haven't heard anything about Sean Hawley then, Dav? No? His name hasn't been bandied around at all, has he?
No.
It's just an option, because I know he's had like years ago that he doesn't want to do coaching, but I suppose directly rugby wouldn't be, I suppose, coaching. It's just getting the set right for the national side and the regions.
He got hammered by the media though when he was coaching, didn't he? I don't think he wants to be under that glare again.
It's just a name thrown in the hat,
Yeah. So that's our plan. If I had the skills, then I would have made a punt. It's just unfortunate that my list of qualities is not there. Like, I don't think being on Radio Wales 4 times is going to cut it, really, is it? But
I
more
mean,
positive things.
sorry, Quan, I was going to say, would you guys go for three regions, neck on the line?
No.
Rod's having to think. You're both shaking your heads vigorously. Rod's having to think because I'm on the fence with
I,
this one. I'm going to say.
yeah, I am on the fence. I think it depends on what action is taken around that. If we were to drop to three regions, but really commit to an Anglo-Welsh league where we're part of that, helping to replenish the Prem essentially and bring it up to a nice number that feels like a worthwhile competition, then I'd maybe be a bit more receptive to it. Obviously, if the Ospreys head was on the chopping block, I'd suddenly backpedal on that
Yeah.
and be
Yeah.
completely dead against it. But um, it's so hard, isn't it? Because I understand the passion and the history and the heritage, and where would those fans go, and would that bolster a rival team because they're, getting an influx of neighbouring rugby fans? Maybe not because they'd just be too tribal about it. There's so many unanswered things. If the change was made, people would eventually get over it, but it would be 10,
Well, like
50,
me, 20
20
years
years.
down the line.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It would be 20 years of hurt, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I'm
I
sure. I'm
think the
sure there's
compelling
plenty of.
argument is the amount of players in Wales of that standard to actually fill four squads of regional rugby. I think
Yeah.
that's the argument that I find the most convincing.
Yeah, and of course, being able to split the player budget funds three
Yeah.
ways rather than four ways. There
Mm.
there are legitimate arguments to support that, but
I think,
I think
I don't know what the right option is.
more money's the key,
yeah,
but we're cutting our potential player pool then from that region. Um, with your scouting and everything else. So I think, realistically for me, we need the four, but I would go down the route of someone being a development region.
But on that note, if we were to just be cruel and play out a scenario that it was the Dragons, that argument would not really stand, would it? Because I mean, they've contributed a few international players over the last couple of decades, but it hasn't been nearly to the amount of the other regions. Are they contributing? It's a real question
Yeah,
that needs to be
they
asked.
are.
Are they okay?
Looking
What's the
at their younger players that they've got coming through at under 20s and stuff, they've got a large contingent there. And I think that's where their kind of player pathway is working. So that's where my argument would perhaps be that they be a development region. So they get the youngsters used to playing regional rugby, but they very much know that once those players hit their glass ceiling of performance, there's perhaps a reality that they're going to then be shipped off to Cardiff, to Ospreys,
yeah,
to Scarlets. That's how I would see it working. But
I'd say
we all,
there's more financially sort of sensible ways of doing development programs than funding a team at that level like the Dragons have
yeah,
been. Um,
I I don't know is the answer. I suppose if I had the answer, I'd be Abby Tierney.
I
I
think.
wish.
Well, I heard yesterday. I think it was Dragons fan said that about all the regions. If you would get rid of a region, right? Eventually, it will most probably likely go to court in a way because no fan or player would be happy if they would lose a job because if they get released from if a region would go, that player would be out of a job looking for a new club and he won't know if he gets a new club or not. And plus it's not just about the players, it's about people who work in hospitality, shops and stuff like that. So I think you've got to think a bit more not player side about everybody else in the region as well.
Yeah.
I think there's an argument for it all, really. But let's move on to more fun things. Let's move on to Saturday. We're back to the URC. We're back in black. We're back at the stadium, and we're facing Mark's number 2 team, Connacht. Are they going to come here and think that they can celebrate St. Paddy's Day in the Swansea.com? No, no. It's a no from me.
I think they're probably suffering from a bit of a crisis of character at the moment because they've had a number of disappointing results recently, haven't they? So
Yeah,
they've probably been doing a lot of soul searching throughout this Six Nations period, and I don't know whether they're going to come out firing or whether they'll flop. I think they're equally capable of doing both. I think as long as we go in with a positive performance like we have been putting in since Mark Jones took over, I think we got every chance of securing, a bonus point victory, which is one that we desperately need if we fancy our chances in the USC going forward with a limited number of games left. It's one that we've really got to be targeting.
Absolutely.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
think, to be fair, I mean, Connacht, I think, have one way of playing. They play from everywhere. So I think, with our style of play that we've developed since Mark Jones has come as well, I think the one thing that's certain is going to be an entertaining game. Because Connacht don't know any other way of playing. They live and die by the sword.
Yeah. Dav, you looking forward to Saturday?
Yeah, I think it'll be an interesting game because it's like these next three games for us with the European game as well. I think selection would be an interesting one this week with two derbies because I know Scarlets, I think all the internationals are available. I don't think all of ours will be available. Connacht only have three internationals, so they won't be playing an international, I wouldn't imagine. But like Rod said, and the way we play at the moment, you would expect us to get a win, especially with it being home.
I would hope so.
Hopefully it can happen.
Yeah, I think whether win or lose, we're scoring 4 tries because
Yeah.
it seems to be the team we are at the moment. I think I shared a stat a number of weeks ago that since Mark Jones has come in, we're scoring at least 4 tries every game, more often than not 5. So I can 100% see that happening. Hopefully, you just end up on the right side of the scoreboard.
Yeah.
Um,
I think you
yeah,
can 100% say that Jack's not going to play on Saturday.
no.
I played every minute for Wales in the Six Nations pretty much. Dewi Lake coming back from injury. I'm surprised if he starts. Maybe they'll give him some time off the bench to try and keep on sharpening up. Maybe, but I don't think he'll start on Saturday either. The rest of the lads in the Welsh squad have hardly played. So
Yeah, I
you expect
wouldn't.
them all to all be available.
I don't think Gareth will be involved.
Oh, of course, no.
I wouldn't imagine so.
No, that's the other one as well. Yeah, but I think the rest of them, Dan will obviously play.
I think Dewi would be more than capable of starting.
Starting.
Yeah, 2 games off the bench now. He's clearly back to some sort of fitness. But yeah, like you, Mark, I wouldn't be surprised if Mark makes a point of just honouring some of the boys who put out a couple of good performances without the Welsh boys, and just show them a bit of trust and a bit of faith and maintain a bit of consistency in selection.
They've
I
held the
have.
ship steady, haven't they, while everybody's been on Wales duty.
Yeah.
They really have.
And then,
Especially
we've got no shortage of quality back rowers, so I don't think we'll miss Jack in that sense. Um,
I'm
that's
looking
the one
forward to
position
seeing
that,
the Fijian.
yes,
Come
that's the
on.
question. So
I
we,
think
we we are expecting to see him this weekend.
Yeah, they've said that he's going to be.
Off the bench, I would imagine.
I don't care. I just want to see him in real life.
Yeah.
I'm quite excited.
I'd be tempted to start him, in my opinion.
I'd start him.
Has he got
Give it a whirl.
the fitness though, having hardly played for Sale? Is he going to be fit enough to play a full 80 or start and give us
He's
a
looked good in the
50 minute,
training pictures that I've seen.
He looks good in training, I think. I suppose because do we know if he's allowed to play in Europe or not?
I believe he is, yeah. Because I don't think
Yeah.
he played for Sale, did he?
I think he played one game, and that was it.
I don't know how the rules work. If you
I
play
don't know.
one game, is that you then ruled out?
I'm not sure.
I will look into this. I will look into it. But I'm looking forward to seeing him starting.
Yeah.
You
Particularly
know,
because there's not many opportunities left to see him, especially at home this year. So they're going to want to give the fans that at some point, and Connacht's probably the game to do it.
yeah. I'm hoping people like turn up. Like it's a random Saturday in March. What else is there
Mhm.
to do? And off the back of that Glasgow performance, come and see what beautiful rugby is being played. So don't want to do score predictions, but do we think it's going to be a W in the column for Ospreys?
Yeah.
I think so.
We
I hope so.
Happy days. So we're back.
Where are they in the table at the moment?
They
would-
are a good.
They're above us, I think.
They're about
They
4 or
are
5 places above
ninth.
us.
But
Yeah,
with
they
how
are
tight it is, that would allow us
1
to
point.
leapfrog them, would it?
Yeah, 1 point ahead of us in ninth.
Oh, there
They're-
we go.
Yeah, they've had a decent run during the Six Nations window.
Hmm.
Pulled them up
Yeah.
the table.
But no, I'm excited to get just back down the Swansea.com and watch some proper rugby, really, and have something to
He is
celebrate.
by Aussie.
Yeah. Because I
What's he
said,
going to do this week if you're over with me instead?
oh Christ, you'll be lost. You'll think I'm.
He comes over to us anyway because he blows us kisses. We can have a group hug with him, but I'm not his friend because, he's forsaken me now for someone younger and better.
I'll wear my badge, shall I? Because it's still
Yeah,
not
wear
out
your
of the
badge.
packet. I've been told that it is a rare collector's item, so I didn't know if I should take it out of the plastic.
Do you know what?
Laminate it, babes.
Looking across the USC games this weekend, pretty much everyone's got something riding on them in terms of, positions, whether it's playoffs, whether it's top four. I think the biggest pity is that Leinster are going to the Bulls this weekend, guaranteed without their internationals. So are we going to see Leinster's
Whilst
first defeat of the season, I wonder?
one Canberra dream. No, actually, no. I don't want him to.
It's probably the only time that they might, because they're going to be underpowered potentially, the Bulls, if they go full strength. You'd expect them to win out there,
I
but
think they got Sharks the following week as well, so they've got two big
yeah,
games out on Saturday as well.
they have, yeah.
BKT are doing it as a kind of a race for the 8th now, aren't they? And they've issued a lot of stats showing where people were at this point last year against where they are this year, and we're in exactly the same spot as we were. So I'm not writing us off in any way, shape, or form. But let's move on, unless anybody's got anything else.
Just worth mentioning that obviously that St. Helens Stadium update is going on before the game, isn't it? Now I don't know what time that starts, but
3:15.
3:15, so that's 2 hours before kickoff.
Yeah, because he usually likes to time it for about an hour it usually goes for about an hour and 15 minutes. So it gives people 45 minutes to grab a beer, get to their seat. And I think there's some pre-match stuff coming on as well, but I'm not too sure.
And of course, you're going to be there, aren't you, Sam?
I will be there with my notebook and pen,
Perfect. Cool.
taking notes. I've also agreed to share it with James and his crew as well. So I'm effectively their secretary now as well. So
You're informant.
to be honest, Squidgy just needs to introduce me to Dan Cole. That's all it needs to happen. I'll take that as payment. But just give me a shout out on podcast. I don't care. Or get them to wish me happy birthday in gym. Not a problem. But news. Had a bit of news. Delegated, or to be honest, we're a bit confused today. So Rhod's done the news. Rhod, breaking news.
Yeah, so there's some big Ospreys news this week, as well as some wider stuff in Welsh rugby. So we start with the Ospreys bits and bobs. So we've got Ryan Combia has re-signed contract for the Ospreys after what was a temporary contract till the end of this season. So that's really positive news, isn't it, guys? We got anything to
I'm
say?
chaffing like a muffin.
Yeah. It's one we've been calling for all season, isn't it? So glad they've been able to tie it down. Brilliant.
Yeah, and his try record and in an appearance for Scarlets makes it a really good signing as well.
Oh, let him play against Scarlets and be like that.
So,
Do you know what I mean?
what's the status of his current injury? Is he out for the rest of the season, or will we see him again?
I think he's fit. I think he's just with Cassandra and Giles in good form. It's who do you drop?
Yeah, because I do remember seeing him during the Leinster game in the first Fallow week. He was out on the pitch and he was running around and he looked okay, and I couldn't remember in that moment what his injury was. whether maybe it was something
Was
upper
his
body rather than lower body, but he was running fine, so he looked on route to getting back.
Mm.
another good video from them as well.
Yeah.
The videos are like they are good.
Yeah. And we have sort of talked about this previously, but it has been reported over the last couple of days that we have won the race for Ross Moriarty after a couple of regions and probably some English clubs showed interest as well. So how do we feel on that? I think we've previously discussed that we're all
Not for me.
not for you, Sam.
Again, I think we've got a wealth of riches there. He's not the quickest, and he's pulling for a card, and but I suppose there's benefit there for him, and also some of the stuff that he can give to the younger players as well. So, can I reserve judgment at this point in time?
Yeah.
Mm.
And I think something we said previously was as well was it depends how much we paid for him, really. If
Yeah,
he's desperate to come back to Wales and took a salary hit as a result, then yeah,
great.
maybe. But if he's come at a premium rate, then
Yeah.
maybe
I'd
not.
rather have a tight head.
I think it depends as well on what the knock-on effect is potentially on the squad and on that back row.
Yeah,
I was talking to a fairly knowledgeable Scarlets fan on Saturday, who's got some inside knowledge with the Scarlets, who's very confident that Morgan Morris is going to sign for them next
I'd be
season.
devoid.
If he is listening, then if that's complete bollocks, then I'm very sorry. But it came from a Scarlets fan, and they talk bollocks all the time. So there we are.
It,
Yeah,
it is worth saying though, because I've heard that in Osprey circles as well. I've heard people passionately saying that it is happening, and
It's
people passionately saying
it's
no,
not
they've heard
happening.
unequivocally that it's not happening. So, but the signing of Ross maybe suggests that something is up. But
Something
if you're
changing,
still
but
on the
I'd be
fence,
gutted.
Moggs, then we want you to stay. So take that
Please
into
you know,
don't go. Don't
that.
go. Those
I,
bastards in there.
I don't think Morgan Morris would go, but let's say if you would go to Scarlet, right? From a Scarlet's point of view, they would lose most probably one of their best back rowers because of the money. So
Yeah.
It just don't
And
make sense
thoughts on
to me.
Moriarty? What's your general feeling towards the
it's
player, regardless of,
I think
Osprey stuff?
because we're losing Justin Tipperick because he's going to be a defensive coach. I suppose the experience he's got of playing for Wales and abroad in the English Premiership and in France from that side. But I think as long as he doesn't play for Wales, I'm happy with it because during Six Nation Autumn International when we're playing, with Jack going and maybe Morgan Morse would go with Wales, it will help. But as long as it doesn't play for us, I'm happy with it.
Yeah, there's some good points in there. And yeah, he certainly would bring that experience in a time where we've lost a heck of a lot of experience in Tipperick, isn't it? He's 54 cap international, 30 years old. Obviously been playing out in Brive for Pro D2. He hasn't played that many games this season. He played almost everyone for Brive last season, but I think he's only got out 5 times so far this year. But in that he's played 50, 60 minutes each time, and he's scored a try amongst those 5 games as well. So,
He's going to be a
um,
bomb squad on the bench, innit? Do you know what I mean?
yeah, exactly.
And also, you've got a Moriarty playing in down the Netherlands.
Very much.
Yeah.
So, in terms of other updates from Australia, the Ospreys in the Community 10th anniversary charity gala dinner is coming up soon on the 7th of May. They've actually got a really good lineup hosting that. Well, hosting and attending. It's been hosted by Jason Mohammed of BBC Cymru and various other things, Olympics and everything in between. And the guest speakers are Shane Williams, Philippa Tuttiett, and The Bomb, Adam Jones.
And
Which
James Cracknell.
and
Oh.
James Cracknell. Did I miss that one? Did I?
I
Actually,
got
no,
off
I do remember seeing that. They promoted that in a separate article, didn't they?
because I'm on the OSC as well. I did get off a ticket, but it clashes with something else that I'm going to. And I'm kind of gutted now that I'm not going to it because I've got clothing. I could happily attend something like that in a Swiss dress. And I'm kind of gutted. So I might see if I can maneuver things around.
It'd
It
be
is
worth
expensive.
going just for Adam Jones and his bombisms.
We got matching hair. You know what, right? That picture of him. My brother actually said to me on Saturday, "He's your fucking hair twin, he is, mind." I was like, "Thank you, but my forehead's not that large, but it is." Um, that picture of him at the end on Saturday, I've
Oh,
actually
I
got that
know.
saved on my phone because
That picture.
whenever I'm feeling a little bit thin, I like send it to people and go, "Currently summing up my feels." Um,
That was all
but
of us
yeah, it'll be
weekend.
worth it.
But we all know the good work that the OITC do in the community in Wales. Are probably one of the more proactive, uh, you know, rugby region affiliated
Amazing work
charities.
they do.
So if you've got the money, if you've got the time, get down and support them for that. It should be a cracking evening.
Well
Then,
done to Tom Sloan and team. They do a
yeah,
lot with Alzheimer's in the community as well,
yeah,
with their
the charity
sporting
side.
memories. And my best friend was helped a lot with that when his mum um, was going to those kind of events. So got a lot of time and a lot of love. And I previously, when they've done the Nestless night, have slept outside the stadium and raised money and stuff. So support them in any way that you can.
Yeah. And then outside of Australia, we've got Joe Hawkins has signed now for the Scarlets. Dylan Lewis is going to the Dragons from Saris. And Gatland has been linked in some Wales Online articles with Stade Francais. So there's a lot of movement going on there.
That's surprising.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, drag them up from the bottom. Maybe, maybe not.
By the straps, like, come on. You'd probably have a bigger budget over there when he, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think they're, one from the bottom in the table at the moment. So he'd certainly have a job ahead of him, wouldn't he?
Yeah, and it's bound to be sunnier and warmer over there, isn't it, really?
I
It's
can't
just
see him in a pink tracksuit though, I'm afraid.
I do love their shirts. I wore, remember the pink one with the blue electric
Yeah.
yes.
things on? I had that and I wore it to death. It was in pieces by the time I got rid of it. And they're really floral one as well with the tiger lilies on. Loved that. Thought that was amazing. But
Yeah.
we're at the time of the week now where we're going to introduce Dav to Sam's random question.
God.
God. No, no, God.
Welcome to our world.
It's fine. It's fine.
Question for you, Dav. When you listen at home and you hear these, do you play along in your head? Do you think about your own answers,
You
or do
answer.
you just
No,
think,
I
what
don't.
is this
No.
madness?
Well, you should. You should.
Switched off by then.
But I got to thinking, um, I'm known by various nicknames that have evolved over the years. And when I was little, my favourite toy was a Pink Panther. It was taller than me when I was little, and I would drag it behind me everywhere by its leg. So I was always called Samantha Pink Panther. And that evolved then as I was growing up. And I also thought then that would be a really good gladiator name. So be amazing. It wouldn't be like anything crap like gerbil or hamster. It would be the Pink Panther. And I would like, not that I'm ever likely to go on gladiators because I'm built for comfort, not for speed. But I also had various other nicknames as I was growing up. So Jonesy, because my original name was Jones, my original surname. And then through uni, I was called Flash. Now, get it out your mind, you dirty minded boys. It was not for that reason.
You're
My
just really
name,
fast, weren't you?
absolutely frigging not. No. Vicious with a hockey stick and a hockey ball, but not fast. The reason being is that my name is, or I was down on everything as Sam J. Jones. If anybody's seen the film Flash Gordon, the guy who played Flash in Flash
Yeah.
Gordon was Sam J. Jones. So I was Flash.
As
Okay.
in the character name of the
The Flash,
superhero, not
not
the name of
Black.
the actor.
So no, the actor who played Flash Gordon
The
was Sam
actor,
J.
it was the
Jones.
actor, was it? Not
Yeah.
the alias.
Not, he was Flash Gordon, you knob. That's why he was called Flash Gordon.
No, but don't superheroes often have, like a common name?
A proper
Kent
name,
or
yeah.
Superman.
Like
Yeah.
Peter Parker, Clark Kent, all that.
Spider-Man. Yeah.
Yeah.
So people still call me Jonesy, which is really confusing because I've not been Jones for a long, long time. But then the other thing that I was called was Stingray. Again, because my initials are Simray.
Mm-hmm.
Someone used to always sing to me, Stingray, Stingray. So those are the nicknames that I've gone through throughout my life. Pink Panther's probably the one that I still kind of get called a lot because I went on social media in my 20s, so that was my like Twitter handle, my Instagram, and everything else. So, lads, what nicknames do you have that could also be useful as gladiator names?
I mean,
Rod
I
the
haven't
Sod.
had a lot of nicknames, but like I can count them on, one hand probably, and none of them are stuck through to where I am now. I don't go by any nicknames now, really. But in primary school, just being the feral child I was, climbing on things and jumping on things, people called me Monkey Man. And that genuinely stuck around for a few
That could
years.
be a really good gladiator name, the monkey.
It does, doesn't it? It sounds like it was ready made for that. And then when I started playing rugby, I joined a team with two other Rodris on it. So I was the third Rodri. Another one was a Rodri Davis, which is part of my surname as
Yeah,
well. So not only was I the third Rodri, but I was the second Rodri Davis. So everybody called me by my initials, RID, Rid, which meant
Red.
that whenever any new person came into the team, they thought my name was Ridian. So you had all the youth coming up into senior team calling me Ridian, and there's probably still a couple of cohorts of people out there now who think to this day I'm called Ridian.
Oh, look, it's red. Yeah.
Yeah. But we
Dav,
also had
nicknames.
Ridian on the team as well, so that would have made me the second Ridian.
What? Ridian from X Factor Ridian?
Same name,
No.
different person.
All right, okay. Because I was thinking, I know he played rugby, but like, didn't think he was from there. Dav,
So
nicknames.
Rid followed me the longest, and actually, I bumped into a load of the rugby boys up in Cardiff on the weekend watching the game, and I haven't seen them in 8, 9, 10 years. Some of them, anyway. And the first thing they said was "Rid, Rid." I was like,
I
"Christ,
bet all your mates were like,
I haven't been
what?
called that in a decade." Yeah. It really caught me off guard for a moment. Yeah, blast from the past.
Amazing. Dav, nicknames.
I don't have a lot of nicknames, but what I can remember when I was like a child, when I first started supporting Ospreys, this is gonna sound weird.
Did they all call you traitor?
No. I think when I was like 8 or 10 years old, like teddy bears, I used to have an Osprey teddy bear, and I used to take it everywhere, literally
That's fine.
everywhere. And instead of my mum and dad calling my name, they'd call me Osprey.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good nickname. So you could
literally
be
had the nickname
the
Osprey.
Osprey on Gladiators. Amazing.
It's the only one I can think of.
Mark, come on. You're
You
my
and-
age.
You are not going to believe this, but I share a nickname with Rhod and Sam.
No
Happy
way.
days. Come on.
So in school, monkey, because my ears stick out.
Oh, Pop, yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have said they stick out though, dude.
Well, they're big enough, but
You've grown into them, Mark. You've grown into them.
I've grown into them finally. It took me
Yay.
50 years to grow into them. And believe it or not, when I was in college, Pink Panther, because please don't let your brains go anywhere too far with that one. You know the way the Pink Panther walks, with a bit of a bounce in his step. Throughout my teenage years and into sort of early 20s, that's how I walked. I had a massive bounce in my step when I walked. So I was Pink Panther because
he was so laid back, and he's so cool.
So can you believe I shared a nickname with both of you?
That's amazing.
I know.
You'll have
And
to find it out.
Before you revealed which one of Sam's that you shared, Pink Panther was not the one that I was
No,
going to
I
get.
thought it was going to be
I thought you were
Fran.
going to maybe say Stingray or something.
Not anywhere near cool enough for that, sorry, Rod.
So if we were all to have, gladiator unitards, then you'd have a monkey on yours. I'll let you be the panther. Dav, you can have an osprey on yours, and I'll just stick with a stingray with a sting in our tail.
That's nice.
Sounds
We
good.
sound like a band of Power Rangers or something.
Go Power Rangers. Haven't they all got really bad criminal records now?
All done
Like, didn't
porn,
they
I
all
think,
like
one or the
fall
other.
into drugs and badness?
I think that show is why I'm into like speed metal as an adult, because that era of children's TV programs, they all had like crazy like riffings
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
drums. Yeah, anyway, I think
I was
that's
obsessed with
imprinted on me as a child from a
I was
childhood.
obsessed with Gem and the holograms when I was little. But that is us for this week for episode 26. We're all very much looking forward to the Connacht game. Me and Rod are here again tonight with our matching Yetis. Well, mine's like a Stanley Cup Yeti. Rod's got a water chugger. Mark, you
Mhm.
need a Yeti.
I'm gonna have to get one. Yeah.
It's the only way move forward. Find a colour, stick to it.
Yeah. Father's Day
Like,
soon.
yeah, that's Father Christmas. Talking of that, Scottish Rugby actually had Yetis for sale in the ground with the Thistle and the Scotland logo engraved on it, and they were selling them up in Murrayfield. John's desperate, so
Knock
I'm
off, right? Not
no
actual
proper
Yeti.
no proper Yetis.
Really?
I'll have to
No,
send you a picture.
that's
Really
hot.
nice, and in John's like blue colour.
Mhm.
We're very much a Yeti household, and we have our colours.
I'll say
Um,
the same as I do in every pod, by the way, when we advertise people's products. If anybody from Yeti's listening and they want to sponsor us, you're very welcome.
love a Yeti. I got loads of Yeti. Um, but yeah, so I'm hoping that they do similar for the other home nations, because the red, I think it could, yeah, really nice coffee tumbler. But that is us for this week. Thank you for joining us, Dav. I hope you've enjoyed yourself, and we've been normal. Okay, I haven't, but
Really
hope
good.
you've
Thank you.
enjoyed yourself. Very much looking forward to Connacht on Saturday. We will be back next week with episode 27, hopefully with a win in that column. And if anybody's got any interesting nicknames, hit me up. I'm always interested to hear that kind of shenanigans, and where they come from, because I think nicknames in Wales are an amazing thing.
I thought you
Like,
were going to invite people then to come up with nicknames for us. I was like, Sam, no,
yeah,
that
do
is
it, do it, do it, do it, do it, do it, do it,
You
do
may
it.
as well just do one of those roast me videos.
Yeah.
Just ask people
You're
to.
just going to be Rod
Yeah,
the
you
Sod,
are.
you are. That's all it's going to be, and I'm just going to be the annoying one. Mark can be the silver fox.
I got one
Everyone's a
for you,
winner.
Sam. The
Oh, fuck,
Swansea
here we go.
Nessa.
The Swansea Nessa. Oh, right. Everybody always says that I can't help it. I just say these things,
Mhm.
and I can't help it. Do you see it at the stadium on Saturday?
Yes, yes, she
I
was.
know. Have you seen some of the
Yeah.
stuff BBC have released as well? And we're going, oh,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
when they were fighting. Oh,
Yeah.
that has tickled me. But we will be back next week. And to be honest, if anybody's got any random questions that they want me to ask, let me know. Drop us your randos, drop us your nicknames for us, drop us your own nicknames, and we will see you all next week. Good night.